turning our focus now to credit amnesty. Joining us in the studio to discuss the impact of the ongoing credit amnesty is Nathan January. He is the Chief Executive Officer of One Alone. Nathan, thank you so much for making the time to join us. Maybe set out the parameters for us. What exactly is credit amnesty? To whom does it apply?
Sure. I think we need to start by really creating some sort of context and giving some sort of background to this. So the NCA has really been under tremendous pressure in the last 18 to 24 months to really implement stronger controls within the credit industry. This was due to the fact that there was an increase in unscrupulous lenders, informal borrowing taking place, loan sharks, etc. The Credit Amendment Bill was actually first introduced in 2007, but has widely been regarded as a big flop due to consumers not being aware of what it was. Essentially, this particular bill has come into place on the 1st of April, and it makes provision for the updating of adverse credit information, particularly relating to paid-up judgments and defaults. If I can just explain sort of the practical implications, on a systemic level will be these two steps to it. So bureaus have 60 days opportunity from the 1st of April, and the deadline is at the end of this week. The first step will be to update payment profiles. Payment profiles is generally where consumers have engaged and interacted with credit providers. How they've behaved, are they slow payers, are they in arrears, are they good payers, etc. So that was sort of the first round on a systemic level. The second round, on an ongoing basis, is really to look at the paid-up judgments. So where a consumer has rehabilitated himself, paid up his defaults and judgments, they wouldn't have to go through the court system. It would automatically be done for them. Yeah.
So also what strikes one is that it's not so much the principles that are an issue, it's the lists. There's a bureaucratic element here, and those lists have to be accurate. I mean, if you're on a list that you shouldn't be on and are disadvantaged, it's not that anyone's decided you're no longer creditworthy, but you're on the wrong list. Isn't that part of what this is supposed to address?
Yes, so I think, again, practically speaking, we've got 4 major bureaus that really sort of regulate data with regards to 99% of the market. And what we have seen on that level, on a systemic level, is that a consumer's record with one bureau might not be the same on another bureau, and that fundamentally is incorrect. So this amnesty bill, along with Project Evolution that the CPA has been the champion of, is really trying to sort of formalize that process so that when we go to TransUnion, we have the same report as with CompuScan, as with XTS, as with Experian, etc.
So, come the end of this week, what does this mean for creditors who want to lend to consumers? Where do they look for information? How does this change the information assimilation process?
Yeah. Well, it's been no secret that I think the large majority of credit providers have spoken out against the credit amnesty. I think it depends on which perspective you're looking at, and I think each credit provider will be different. Credit providers that solely use credit information will be largely at risk, because from 1 April and after the 60-day period, they won't have the opportunity to look at behavioral data over a period of time. I can't legislate for all credit providers, but at One Alone, we only use 20% of credit information. We use the other 80% is made up of other types of data.
That's in your criteria.
That's right.
You know what strikes me is we've had this legislation, we've got the cleanups, we've got the banks being encouraged to be tougher on the lending.
Yeah.
And yet we keep hearing over-indebtedness, people too deep in debt. It's too easy still to borrow, or is it?
Yeah. Well, in terms of this credit amnesty bill, I think what the consumers and the general public need to remember is that it's not a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's not a wiping of your slate. It's really to provide an opportunity for those that have rehabilitated themselves, that probably doesn't have the finances to go through the court system.
But in that sense, it's not really an amnesty. An amnesty is for an offender.
Sure.
And you're saying, OK, for a certain period of time, like SARS did this with the tax.
Yes.
They said, OK, you know, if you didn't pay tax up to 2005, we're going to give you 2 months, no questions asked. That's an amnesty. Yeah. But you're saying this is for people who actually should be regarded as clean. It's not an amnesty.
Yes, I think you could argue both sides of the coin in that regard. I think what the DTI has really said is that adverse credit history has affected employment opportunities. It has infected rental opportunities, accommodation opportunities. So for that particular group, I think that it will open up opportunities going forward We've seen in the financial sector particularly that many businesses decline employment due to the fact that there's adverse information. So I think credit has sort of, flowed into different types of society, etc.
Nathan, you made a point of saying that there is 80% other criteria that you're going to be considering. How relevant and reliable is this criteria if the purpose is to lend money?
Sure. I think that if one looks at the US market, and particularly the European market, there is a trend towards using behavioral data, lifestyle data, and not relying solely on credit information. Because credit information really isn't a perfect science in itself. I think that our stance has really been that this will provide the credit industry within South Africa over the long period of time an opportunity to innovate, to go back to the drawing board and think to themselves, listen, how can we think of innovative ways of arriving at our lending decisions? So yes, I think in the short term there'll be stricter controls while the credit industry sort of sees how this thing will play out. But I think in long term it will actually provide an opportunity to innovate for the credit industry, which is good for the economy.
Nathan, thank you so much for making the time to join us. That was Nathan January, CEO of One Alone. After the break, we'll find out more about a new crowdfunding project that has been launched in South Africa's property sector. Don't go away.